Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for What's Working in Marketing Now. Got some guests with us to really dive into what's happening now in the fitness industry. And I know for some of us here, we do a lot of like online coaching. Some of us have studios. Some of us do the B2B corporate wellness stuff. So we'll give you guys a good overview of the panelists that are helping us out. And these guys have all been mentors of mine and have helped me immensely in my business. And I wanted to bring them all to you because like, I think if you have good stuff, you should share it. So this is my version of doing that. So, we'll just go around the horn. And if you all want to share, panelists, share one thing or two things personally and professionally that you'd like to share with our guest today, please do.
Oh gosh, personally and professionally. Personally, well, I'm a little under the weather, so if you see me throwing cough drops in today, I apologize in advance. But personal, I guess, aside from doing what we're doing here, I've coached baseball for like 33 years in a row too. Um, but then professional, I help business owners like you build the business they want so they can do the things that they want personally as well. So help people create their ideal business.
Awesome. Thanks for being here, Pat. Scott, how about you?
Personally, most people have no idea where I live because I've lived all over the world. Um, so I grew up in Canada, moved to Australia, 15 years, then came back home, very much from a kind of a Pat Rigsby type thing. Read an article, realized that everything comes down to math. Like have 18 Christmases with your kids and stuff like that. Did the math, realized I'd only see my parents 7 more times in my life if I continued doing what I was doing and living in Australia. And I decided that day I was going to move back home to Canada. Just kind of to reiterate what Pat says, like it's build a business around kind of what the life you want to have. Don't let it kind of swallow you up. Professionally, had a studio for 14 years, and then in Australia, then I having the business that I like. I was able just to sell that and then move back to Canada with my other business, which is a digital marketing business for fitness professionals. So we help fitness professionals market themselves online and navigate the digital world.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott. And you've also been coaching football for what, 10 years?
Since I moved back here, so I did it before I moved out of Canada, and so 4 years because we didn't have a during COVID.
Nice. Thanks for joining us, Doug.
Yeah, I am up here in a state that everybody thinks is in the middle of nowhere in Maine. We're in reality only about 90 minutes north of Boston, which many of you in the States know. I had a training gym here for 12 years and sold that to a longtime employee this past spring, and have been in the Pat Rigsby circle for well over a decade at this point now. Was a student and then hopefully a good student, and then now a coach and partner with him, helping gym owners. So excited to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for joining us. So with that, I want to give you all some context because I know people tuning into this will be at different stages in business. Like when we think about marketing today, what we do at a solopreneur level of like 10 grand a month is going to be much different than what you do when you have employees and are doing like 30, 40 grand a month. So I wanted to start with some questions for Pat around the things that he's seen fitness business owners do that are able to go from maybe they've been doing 10 grand a month for 3, 4, 5 years, and then they make a decision to say, hey, I'm going to plant my flag and grow my business. Like, what are the things you've seen them build from both skills that they have to do and also mindsets that help them get there?
Well, I mean, I think from a skill standpoint, you've got to get comfortable with some of the skills that are maybe business owner-esque rather than just coaching, right? I think that with certain types of businesses, you can get to that 7, 8, 10 grand a month level by simply being a good coach, generating referrals, maybe, you know, getting some word of mouth, doing a little bit of stuff on social media. But to move to 25, 30, 35 grand a month, you're going to have to become not only solid, but a consistent marketer. So you're going to have to continually generate leads. You're going to have to be comfortable following up with leads and ultimately on the back end of marketing, selling. And then you're going to have to kind of embrace some of those leadership and managerial responsibilities, because at 30 grand, you can't really solopreneur it, right? Like you have to have help. You have to have a team around you, whether that's coaches or administrative help. And then you may outsource some things to people, you know, outside your four walls. And so you got to be able to manage the responsibilities that they have, the things that you're asking of them, and you've got to lead in a way that keeps them kind of moving the ball forward towards where you want to go and helping you achieve your vision, hopefully in a way that is in alignment with the things that they want to do. So I think that skills wise, you know, marketing, selling, management, you know, so maybe the management of people and the management of systems, but from maybe some of the intangible stuff, like, man, you just got to be relentlessly consistent, because the people that aspire to make that kind of leap, they're almost always separated by a commitment to consistency, or, you know, being erratic, being inconsistent. And so, you know, obviously being consistent requires perseverance. It requires planning, all those things that kind of, I think, we tell training clients, you know, you can have an okay plan, but if you're relentlessly consistent, you're going to get better results than if you have the best possible plan, but you're really erratic or inconsistent with the execution of it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I appreciate you sharing. And I know for my business journey, like going through learning how to market, learning how to be a leader, learning how to find the right people, it's not an easy feat, but it's certainly worth it, right? Because you can create a lot more flexibility and financial stability for yourself. So Doug, I'd love to ask you this, like, as you see gym owners go through that phase of becoming a leader, being better at marketing, what are some of the things that you see them get stuck on and maybe don't move forward with? Is that hiring the right staff? Is it?
Yeah, I mean, the people, I was just talking to a gym owner this morning about, you know, people issues, right? Typically your problems go from, you know, at the I say the higher levels, you know, you referenced the 30K mark, but let's just use that as a barometer of, you know, you have a team now. Like Pat said, you're not doing this by yourself. And so once you have a team, you now have people problems. So where we get stuck is in regards to making sure, you know, expectations are clear, right? They know what good looks like. As we're marketing and bringing in new people, it is a consistent experience. So the experience is not just great with you, but it's great with the rest of your team as well. It doesn't drop off just because they work with a different trainer. And so from an owner's perspective, what that means is really shifting your way of planning your week and your way of, you know, how you map out your week to make sure that you've carved out some leadership, some people time, meeting with your team, role playing, practicing, things like that. And then as far as the marketing side goes, you know, your business as it grows, we all have a percentage of churn, good churn, you know, let's call it 2-3%, right? And so when you're doing 10 grand a month and you got 20 clients, 30 clients, 50 clients, 2% is, you know, one person a month. and you're good. And so as you scale and as you grow this business, the marketing that you have to do becomes a little bit more robust, because even though your percentage doesn't change, the percentage of that, even though that percentage is the same, the number of people that are leaving is increasing, even if you're doing it well. And so the amount of marketing that you need to do is larger. So those two things I would say would be the big ones. On the leadership side, it's not a set it and forget it thing, just like marketing's not. We got to make sure we're always pouring into our people. And then on the marketing side, making sure the size business we want has a marketing calendar that matches that.
Yeah, no, those are great, Doug. Thank you. I'm curious for you, like if you could think back to your early stages as a gym owner. I find a lot of coaches are unwilling to like bring someone on because they're really scared of that client experience not being high. They think they're the only one that can deliver that high level of experience. Did you feel the same way, or were you always motivated to bring on a team and grow your business?
I personally, I always enjoyed the team aspect. That was probably, now not having a gym, that's probably one of the bigger things that I miss, is like having a team around me every day. And so I think, if you grew up in a sports background or anything like that, like there's an energy in that. And so, using the ideal business term, I think if you want a big business, you have to be okay with at least a small team, right? This business doesn't need dozens of employees, but you need a handful of people around you. And, there has to be a level of trust. There has to be a level of, what you're pouring into them, they're going to put out to the clients. And the nice thing is we are in a helping profession. So 9 out of 10 times you're hiring people that want to help people. Very few people are in this industry to like be, bajillionaires and just sit back and, hang out. Most people that we hire are in this industry because they want to help people. So yes, it's a mistake of not training them, not setting clear expectations, but there's definitely that, like, you're just a control freak and you need to build some trust that, that it's going to be okay. They're not going to hurt somebody. We can let them, train other clients. That's how they're going to learn. They're not going to learn just by sitting back and watching. So definitely a trust factor there. And certainly a bottleneck that they, I know I faced and gym owners face, which is just slowly kind of, letting them build trust, but they have to be able to, at some point, kind of, have their own schedule, train their own clients, et cetera. Otherwise, you're never going to scale.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the way you put it too. Just so you all know, Doug's been my mentor for some time, and in our group boardroom, a lot of the studio owners need staff, right? They need help and they want to train them. And something I've learned that they do is they call it co-coaching, where you're not like shadowing someone and then like breaking down everything they're doing wrong, but you're like setting them up for success and doing the job with them. So it's just such a cool thing that you guys teach. And yeah, I really appreciate that side of the that side of the help, because I think as business owners, learning how to work with people and learning how to bring people on is very important and often overlooked. All right, Mr. Scott, sorry to keep you so silent, man. I would love for you to share some insight with us on a couple things. Like, first question is like, the studio or fitness business finally has some revenue to invest in marketing and paid marketing. Like, what's their best path forward in 2024?
It's kind of a loaded question. Best path forward is talk to someone and set your expectations correctly. What I find is most people come in with, we'll call it maybe a 2018, 2017 expectations, and either give up too soon. Well, no, they just pretty much give up too soon, typically, what it is, and then kind of jump to the next thing, jump to the next thing, jump to the next thing. So I think just having clear expectations when you start, and just realizing like the whole, you put $1 in, you get $1 out thing. In the first month is kind of a pipe dream for most people. The thing is, and I'll use a Pat quote because this one stuck with me a number of years ago. But I'll say it a little way. I'll kind of make it more Scott style. So thank God you're not a plumber. Thank God you're not a plumber, because if you're a plumber, as soon as you get a client, they come in, you fix their problem, then they would leave, and you have to go find a new client straight after that. And even if you're the world's best plumber, chances are the next time you're piping, you have a plumbing issue, you probably forgot who he was, right? So you can be the best plumber on the planet for the last 20 years, and you might not get any repeat business. So thank God you're not a plumber, and as a gym owner or studio owner, you rely on recurring revenue. So I think coming into it with the expectation, like, I need to make all my money back in profit on month one, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're probably going to quit spending money on marketing. You're probably going to be stuck for a long time. So I think coming in from a paid ads perspective is set that expectation. I've been doing marketing for quite some time. You talk to anybody that's they're spending in different niches, especially like the online world, they're spending tens of thousands of dollars a day. If they could get to break even on their ad spend, they would have the world's biggest party. So like kind of one of the big lofty goals is to make your marketing break even on the front end. So I think, unless you are one of the top 1% of marketers in the world, you should, realign your expectations and realize you're not going to, make a profit on that initial thing that you're selling. I think that's probably the biggest mistake, biggest barrier, kind of biggest reason why people shoot themselves in the foot, because they have this unrealistic expectation. That'd probably be it.
Yeah, no, man, thanks for sharing. That makes sense. I think of it in a sense of like, we are developing business for ourselves. When we invest in paid marketing, it's going to be doing the same thing. It's just helping us, right? It's just another thing that's helping us. So either we're investing our time or investing our money. So I appreciate you sharing. Pat, I would love to know from your side, when people do put money in paid marketing and they're doing like lead magnets, are there things that you're seeing work well right now for folks to opt in?
Well, I mean, there are a couple things, and to kind of piggyback what Scott just said, it's amazing how much our business mirrors the clients we serve, right? Clients don't come to us. If they come to us and have expectations of immediate gratification, they're usually disappointed. But if they stay the course, then almost always we can deliver really positive outcomes for them. And the same thing holds true when it comes to marketing, when it comes to business growth. And so what I see with, getting leads into the pipeline is understanding that first, it's a lead, right? It is somebody who has expressed an interest in what we're doing. Now, there are kind of two types of leads in my mind. There are people who express an interest in the outcome, and then there are people who express an interest in the program. And the people who express an interest in the outcome may not be ready to join a program. They may not be ready to kind of develop these habits and be committed and all that other stuff that we want. But we have to be a realist and say, look, if I'm putting out a lead magnet, whether it's a book that talks about losing weight after the age of 50 or, improving your health or whatever else it may be, well, I'm getting somebody who has an interest, but maybe not the stage of readiness to actually walk through the front door. Whereas the second type of lead magnet, interest in a program, typically that's going to be something like a 7-day trial or a pass, something where it's an experiential thing where they can come in, whether we frame it as a gift card or a guest pass or something like that, where they can come in and experience what we do. It's a much smaller pool of people that are ready right now, right? We're kind of having to thread the needle there. But those are the people who, well, they may not be immediate gratification. There's definitely a shorter sales cycle. So both of those work. And I think that you can run both of those kind of cycling back and forth. You can lead with a lead magnet and then offer the more high intent experiential thing immediately after somebody joins. So then you have the ability to still follow up if they're not ready. I mean, I think the key here is in both cases, we're having to meet somebody who is a potential client where they are right now in this stage of the journey. And most business owners, we're not really wired that way. We're trying to meet them where we want them to be in that kind of respective journey. Like, oh, I want you to come in super motivated, ready to join, train 3 days a week, all of that stuff. But if we're advertising, we're not really doing that. So when we're advertising, I think what we see works is in some ways what has worked for a long time. Meeting people where they are, getting them to kind of raise their hand and say, yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested in losing weight. I'm interested in feeling better. I'm interested in, improving my health. And then being willing to follow up, because so many people want to focus on lead generation, but the magic in lead generation is what you do with the lead, right? You meet somebody. How do we develop this relationship? How do we nurture it? How do we invite somebody in, build value in what we do, and move forward? So that may be kind of a roundabout way of answering what you're asking, but if you want your lead magnet to work, you got to be concerned with the person you're trying to connect with as a lead, and you got to be willing to do what it takes with that lead after that initial connection until they're ready to actually walk through your front door.
Yeah, that makes sense, Pat. I appreciate the two categories.
I'm gonna jump in and just kind of say, just in case you don't ask the question, I think one of the I'm 110% sure Doug and Pat will both say this. The biggest missed opportunity I see out there from a marketing perspective is follow-up, is your long-term follow-up. The amount of people I talk to, I have clients right now who I'm still trying to get them to email their list. We write their emails and they just won't approve the emails because they want to make sure they're perfect before they send it out. Yet they have these people that they've not communicated with for 1-2 years. So the fact that you put in all this effort to get this person to raise their hand, you try really hard for like 7 to 10 days, and then when they're not ready to join, you just say, well, get lost, next. So the biggest missed opportunity that I'd say 80%, probably 85% of fitness business owners out there can capitalize on is just send out some content every single week to your list, because you spent time or money to generate that lead, and you basically you put about as much attention on converting them as a lot of your tire kicker leads that come in put on trying to solve their weight loss problem. They do it for a week and say, you know what, yeah, eating healthy didn't work. I did it for a week and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, so true. It's so true. And I know in my business, like I enjoy follow up the most. Like I think of the get new leads as the hard part, but like once people are in your world, like it's pretty simple to stay in front of them and stay relevant.
We
I
have
would
to
love to shift.
understand. I know I'm hijacking this for a second, but I mean, Scott used the plumber example earlier, right? We have to understand the business we're in. If I need a plumber, that's urgent, right? So maybe follow-up's not as critical because I have to solve the problem this minute, right? If my bathroom's flooding or whatever else, I got to solve the problem. But in the world that we're in, there's not the same perception of urgency. So we have to follow up if we want to maximize the time, money, effort, energy that we put into lead generation.
Yeah, I appreciate the share there. And yeah, I think too, like everyone does in our industry put a lot of emphasis on different social media platforms, but like you all shared, the email follow-up, having their actual contact information is certainly king to any of that stuff. Shifting gears just a bit, talking about internal referrals. Doug, I would love to ask you things that you see work well, like what gift cards, trials, like what are people in the studio or online coaching setting given their clients that are helping bring in referrals?
Yeah, as far as what's working now, I'll speak mostly to the brick and mortar folks, just because that's what I deal with. But in regards to referrals, number one would definitely be point of sale, right? They just joined, and so they're very excited. You just signed them up. It's this new thing. You've as we just spoke about, you've kind of done well with the follow up, at least to some degree, to get them to show up, and now they're excited. It's this new thing they're taking on. We always would have some type of invitation for them to bring a friend, bring a buddy, bring a coworker for their first stretch of time. Especially this works really well if you work with a population that is kind of intimidated by the typical gym, and your solution solves that. You can very much play to the script of like, we know this is new, we know this may be scary, we're going to be with you the whole time. However, if it helps more, you can bring a friend, bring a family member, bring a coworker with you for the first week or two. That I think is very powerful. The kind of 2.0 of that would be to make sure, speaking of follow-up, that they may not want to take advantage of that, or even have the bandwidth to think of who they want to bring right away. And so make sure in your onboarding that you have some type of follow-up. Maybe you give them, say, a 7-day guest pass in their, welcome bag, but a couple days later in your onboarding, they get a text that reminds them, hey, who did you give that guest pass to? That way, if they didn't answer you right at point of sale, it's kind of a little nudge to say, hey, who'd you give it to? So point of sale would definitely be like a no-brainer. Definitely implement that one. The other one that we like, and it sounds very silly, it's just a little bit more work. It's probably the simplest one, is to pull a list every month of clients that are crushing it. And long-term clients that are, and long-term meaning, they're not also going through this onboarding sequence where you're asking them for the 7-day guest pass. They're been there 3-6+ months, and they're in a good groove. They're getting good results. Just a simple text going out to them to say, hey, I see you're crushing it. You must be loving it here. If you know anybody that would be a good fit, we'd love to extend them an invite as well. So don't be afraid to do direct reach out, just like you might do direct reach out for lead gen. I think direct reach out for referrals is a great internal strategy. And then a final third one would be, I think a modern version of a referral challenge still works. We still have several gyms that are doing well with it. I was just on a call with one of our boardroom guys, and he got 30 some odd referrals. Now, granted, he's group training, so he's got a little bit higher volume, but I mean, 10% of his membership gave him a referral in a 3-week stretch of time, which is pretty powerful. So the key with the referral challenge, for those of you that have been in the industry a long time, you remember when these first came about, it was like giving away iPads and TVs and things like that. Now, obviously, those have kind of been commoditized, and it's no longer a special thing. The key we found with these referral challenges is to give away something that is both large enough to display in your facility. For example, we have clients that give away like big Yeti coolers, or we had one client give away like a big stand-up paddle board. The item, I think, is important that it has a physical display. This is especially true for our brick and mortar folks. I don't think we spend enough time thinking about the foot traffic through our facility, and how to kind of interrupt that pattern. And by sticking a physical thing like a retail would do right in front of them, that they every day, I mean, we have an advantage that, unlike that plumber, our clients are walking through our business 2, 3, 4 days a week. So we want to take advantage of that. So pick a stretch of time, raffle off a cool item. In order to enter the raffle, you have to give us somebody's contact, friend, family, whatever, and then draw a winner. And now you have all these leads that are, referrals, and it's a volume game compared to the direct reach out, but I think they both work.
Yeah, those are 3 solid. Thank you, Doug. I appreciate it. I do want to ask Scott, in regards to follow-up, what are the things, like, obviously, like, I want to know tools and technology and stuff. What are the things you're helping your clients use to make follow-up easier in their world?
Easier or better?
Better.
So we use So like for immediate follow-up, so stuff like if it was for an offer, we use AI. We use little chatbots. And for reference, so what we've done over the years is we actually had people that we hired them for 18 hours a day from the Philippines to basically man like our clients' accounts and just respond to people coming in. So respond to people when they chatted. Then we connected with a agency that they do calls. So they would call all the leads within 5 minutes of opting in that day, and they call them twice a day for 7 days afterwards. Then we started to implement, because that wasn't, I mean, not everyone could afford that. Then we implemented the AI bots. And this is over like a 3-year time period, I'd say.
Sure.
The chatbot was way better than the human responding. The chatbot was just slightly less effective than people calling on a phone. And so based on seeing all that, I feel like it's the fact that they're actually, as soon as someone responds, the AI can jump in there and respond to them and be very, yeah. The only time we ever had a client be like, this sounds too AI, was because, and as I dug further, because I looked at the actual response, he's like, well, I would never say that much stuff. I would never give that detail. So it was really that his follow was not very good. So I think when someone replies, they're in a conversation and something jumps in there and starts and continues that conversation when they're ready and gets them to actually book their call and book a time. So I feel like, and I use a story sometimes, is I feel like this is what a lot of people that decide they're going to have they're going to change their fitness. They wake up in the morning. Let's say Bob wakes up in the morning. He goes brush his teeth, he drops something, looks down, and goes, holy cow, I can barely see my toes anymore. Like, when did I get this fat? He's like, you know what? I need to do something. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, I feel like guys, it takes us longer. We're like, what? What's that? So, he's goes to work, drops his kid off, whatever, sees an ad, fills out the form. He's like, no, you know what? I'm going to do something. I see this fitness thing. I'm doing it. Right. He's motivated, but I feel like that motivation is really short lived because, let's say Bob gets to work, right? And and he's at work with Pat and Doug, and it's lunchtime, and Doug's like, hey guys, hey, let's go. Pat, Scott, let's go grab a beer and have pizza. I'm like, no, I'm going to be healthy. And Doug being Doug, he's like, come on, man. Like, come on, don't be a wuss. Don't be that guy. You can be a salad guy. Come on, come eat pizza. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Actually, I'm a fat guy. Let's go, right? So they were motivated, but they weren't able to start a conversation and make that next step, that next commitment. So I feel like when there's someone there to kind of continue the conversation and actually get them to commit to something a little bit further, I feel like those little daily pushes back into our old habits, it kind of lengthens it a little bit. So I think for that sort of thing, it's just being able to respond to people very fast, and using AI has been unless you can have someone that's calling people all the time, it's the best thing to try to get someone to actually book in and show up. And then as far as your follow up for lead magnets, we already talked about that. Like, actually send out emails.
Thank you for sharing that. Quick question specifically, like, was it a big cost difference for you to go from the humans calling to the chatbot for the client?
Yeah, because we had to find people that could be by a phone for 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Yeah. Cool.
So yeah, the human cost is a lot more expensive.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Well, those are all my questions for you all. I got some solid notes that I'll certainly get out to everyone. But for those of you live here, Pat put in here what's your number one marketing challenge. So I know some of our live attendees do some B2B stuff. Yeah, would love to hear from you all.
And no, Doug did not actually convince me to go eat pizza. He said, no, Scott, you should eat salad. I support you in your weight loss journey.
And it looks like I just allowed everyone to talk, so you can feel free to unmute.
And we got Don Hoskins on here, who I've known since like 2005.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What's your number one marketing challenge?
They all don't have any challenges.
Nah, they're just fielding calls right now. They're busy.
They're crushing it.
Yeah.
I got a question, if anybody can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Awesome. So with app-based services involved in the fitness business, what's been the, best marketing strategy for consumers that have like an app service involved in their fitness business?
Let me give you guys some more context too, Pat. So Chris has a company called Tricor Wellness, and they help fitness professionals really frame up their app-based offering, both for B2B and B2C through Trainerize.
Okay.
So that's what they do. And it's, questions kind of asking what are the avenues, probably like a online coaches academy question, but like what are the avenues that coaches are taking to market their app-based offering?
I mean, I think it kind of comes down to what problem you're solving, right? Like the offering itself, I mean, you're solving a problem, you're delivering an outcome. So depending on what you're actually delivering to somebody, the outcome, not the process, you market the outcome. So you could still use a lead magnet, you could still use a trial of something, but you have to go target the person who wants that outcome, and you've got to show them how this process is their best path to achieving what they want to achieve. And so if I had a training gym and I had a list of unconverted leads, and I felt like a lot of those people couldn't, they felt like they couldn't get in the gym to be consistent. They couldn't make time to come 3 days a week. They were on my list and maybe they were a little too far drive time. Well, I'd go out and make an offer and say, hey, you can't make it in here consistently, no problem. We have this, virtual offering where we can still help you do A, B, C, and D. You can do it anytime, anywhere. We've designed this entire program so you can achieve your goals in the time you have, and love for you to try it out. Here's a sample experience. So something like that is an easy way to start. I mean, we've seen people sell online offerings that way for decades now. And then beyond that, I think it just comes down to what people want. Like, I think selling the tool itself is kind of like saying, well, we have kettlebells, we have TRXs. If we're talking about a local facility, like those are just a means to an end. So you think about the person you want to serve, the outcome they want, and why they believe that they're not there yet. And you show them how you can be the bridge to take them from where they are to where they want to be.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Very cool. Drew, you got really quiet.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Chris. Jack, Colin, Don, anything from you guys marketing wise that we can help with right now?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of opening and in the founder stage, and we just wrapped up our giveaway, which we got about 75 people to join our list, which was awesome. And I built an onboarding sequence for that. And I'm trying to transition everybody to a founders. And I wonder if I feel like I have a couple kind of email sequences going on at once. And I think I need a little help on how maybe to organize or get them all on the one path, if that makes sense. Or because one is basically, now that they weren't chosen for the winning, I want them in the founder. So I'm a little bit more engagement style to try to book a call, but they're also getting some emails about us and who we are, because a lot of people signed up the last minute, which is, I know you guys have experienced it. Sunday, my phone was vibrating all day. I think we signed 10, got 10 people to opt in. I if you have any, I'm trying to get a little clarity maybe and how to organize that going into these next 3-4 weeks. If,
Well,
if
but
that
I
helps.
don't want to like steal the thunder from the smarter people, but like you should just stack them in sequence, right? Like you've got the engagement style stuff, and then in between, stack the value building stuff, the relationship building stuff. And as long as you kind of do them sequentially, you'll be fine, right? Because if they don't respond initially, they may see some of the value building stuff and that may pique their interest, and just make sure that you got a super signature on the value building stuff. And then you follow up, depending on how frequently you're sending stuff, you may send 5 emails a week and there may be 3 value building, 2 engagements.
Colin, I'm curious, did you, when you ran your giveaway, did you collect phone numbers as well?
Yes, we got name, email, phone numbers.
So I would be putting, I mean, specifically for you, with this campaign, I would be putting more effort into the phone calls and texts than, certainly let your emails roll in the background like you're doing. But I would be sending, texts and calls out aggressively and let the value building happen via email.
I like it. I will add that. Yeah, I'll add that to the campaign because I'm trying to drive them all to a phone call, so won't be too hard to do.
So I know you're a busy man getting the studio ready right now, but like I don't get me wrong, I'm all for automation when possible, but like let your email campaign run. I don't know if you can put a text and phone call into a campaign, specifically with the text. Like, don't be afraid to just manually sit down and go through. If you got 75 people every day, go through 25 people, and every 3 days you're hitting them out with a text. Because I think, especially with you being local to the community, you might even know some of these people, right? So I think you can take the time to. What is your founders offer? I don't want to turn this into a coaching call, but what's your founders offer?
It's 50% off your first month. Some private training in there, 60-minute privates, 25% off of Nutrition OS, and a few other items.
Okay, so a couple more bonuses and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to sell that on a call, obviously, and so I would just, I would be curious during your quote downtime when you're building out your facility to do some manual outbounds with that list. I think you might have a higher conversion, and in the beginning, that's when your foot's real heavy on the gas, trying to start with a good base. I would think that would be worth your time.
Yeah.
Probably the most efficient use of my time, for sure. I like it.
To kind of like go on top of that, like just sometimes we forget, like, so when you're just a little brick and mortar, you're not one of the big chains, and we feel like that's a disadvantage. But I mean, for every disadvantage, there's an advantage. There's an advantage that you get to be the actual person, right? So I would scale what Anytime Fitness and Crunch Fitness can't do. Just film a video on your phone, on your personal phone. Hey, it's Colin here from Sharon Fitness. Just wanted to make sure, just want to let you know I'm a real person. And wanted to make sure that you knew about our founder special. You opted in for our giveaway. You didn't win, but I would love to have you come in and get 50% off. Right? Save it on your phone. Text. Just text them all. Now it's something that, like, I'm sure no one none of the other gyms around there have ever done that. Send a video to them. So sometimes looking at how can you be more personal, how can you scale things that can't be scaled. Can
automatic members do outbound videos like that? No.
Well, you can, but it won't feel normal.
Okay.
Because it'll be a file. So
okay.
file thing, scale the unscalable.
Yeah.
The things that, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I just like having all their information in one area.
Yep. Film it once. Go in there. Just copy on the app on automatic members. Copy the phone number. Paste it. Add photo. Send. Right. You can do it while you're having a coffee. I'm sure you sit down and do something where you're mindless.
What else? And any other questions?
I got one more. If
Yeah,
nobody
go.
else has got one. Scott, we turned it back into Collins ads and technology. Just kidding. I'm changing over my website. Everything was driving to the giveaway. I've built a Founders Club page. I'm curious if I think I know the answer to this. If my button should be all just driving to getting more information versus me giving them the link to go and get the information. If that makes sense, like going to the page that has all the information versus like inquire here, and then you fill out the form and then I'm capturing, or a combination of both.
I would just send them to the info, give them the opportunity to get the info.
Okay.
Because that's what they want, right? Like if you gated them, like put yourself in their shoes. Like if you wanted some information, you were kind of curious, but you had to give like your name, email, phone number before you could even see what it was about. What would you probably do? Like, I don't know. This guy's scammy.
Colin, how many founders memberships are you doing?
And I think we've got 23 left. So we've had a couple good sales in the last day.
So, and I would make this applicable for anybody listening to this. There's a lot of things that are working now, and there's a lot of things that have always worked. And one of them that has always worked in marketing is to make sure that we use scarcity and urgency in our marketing. And so, don't get too hung up on the tactics. A lot of what you're navigating right now is the urgency and scarcity that you're opening on X date and you only have 23 spots left. Like that needs to be a core part of your message. I think when you look at successful grand openings in our world, there's a lot of excitement of the date opening, and I think you're doing a good job on social, showing the behind the scenes and all that stuff. So that's great. If anything, I would make sure when you're showing behind the scenes, you're building excitement to at least like a rough opening date. Doesn't have to, obviously, you don't have to promise a precise date, but build some of that in, and then pick a date and obviously communicate. If it's 23 spots left, and play the whole like show the 23, and then when you're down to 19, cross out the 23 and show the 19. Like there's a lot of marketing that can be had around the scarcity and urgency with the grand opening.
Yeah, don't underestimate like that, because I have a friend who has a brewery in town, and we just did a thing where they got basically a free beer. We had to say there's a free flight, but it's a free beer. And there was some urgency on it because they basically had 7 days to go claim it. And the amount of people that would respond and say, like, when they got to like, hey, tomorrow's your last day to get your free beer. So like what, $8? The amount of people that would reply and be like, oh my God, I can't come in. Like if I come in like on Friday, can I still get it? So like how concerned people were about missing out on $8. Like we sometimes forget like how just that FOMO actually can really drive stuff. So I mean, if it works for an $8 beer, it'll probably work for a recurring membership of hundreds of dollars. Don't overthink it.
Thank you.
Good stuff, guys. Jack, you got anything for the group? Don?
I got another question if we have some time.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
So question in more just, business operations and essentially marketing to top talent, right? And trying to get more coaches and trainers in the fitness business. And obviously my questions are more focused on app services and online services, but with the ability to white label technology now, and anybody can set up like an app, right? What have you guys seen as best practices in business and business ops to be able to attract and retain top talent, and essentially marketing to top talent when a business does have in-person, virtual, and app-based services? Like how are you keeping that and attracting top talent and essentially marketing to them?
Can you help me understand top talent? Like when I think of talent, I think of employees or team members.
Correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, what's the advantage to working for you versus not?
Just like say for example, a business in kind of like beginning of the conversation, right? Where we're trying to bring on more people, we're trying to grow, we're trying to, bring on more coaches and trainers and such. And, with white labeling on app services being readily available essentially to anybody now, like what would be some best business practices to say, okay, as a business, we do have, all of these components available to service our clients, and we have all of our marketing funnels set up and stuff. How do we retain our talent so they don't go out and start businesses on their own, or what have you?
I'll give you a quick kind of viewpoint that I have. I'm sure Doug has one as well, but you create an environment they want to stay in. Like, and sometimes that means you got to show them all of the business, because some of the reasons people leave are because they see, well, wait a minute, we're selling this and I'm only getting this, right? Like we're selling something that's $100. I only make 10. Well, I should go just sell it for 100, because they don't understand the cost of operation or whatever else. They don't understand the challenges that come with running the business. They don't understand some of that. But then the flip side of it is, create an environment that they want to stay, because not everybody wants to be a business owner. Not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. So if you're creating an environment where they can thrive and achieve their goals, then they may not want the added hassle. But the reality is, if you have a systematic business, some people graduate. I mean, that was the first thing that I learned coaching college sports before I got into business is the show goes on. We have to field a team next year. So I have to create a situation that if somebody graduates, I can replace them with somebody else that's going to succeed. So I'm just going to even ask Doug. I'm sure you got some things to add to that, because you talk at length about hiring and staff.
Yeah, I mean, I would maybe echo everything Pat said and maybe say it in just a little different tone, a little different, a little bit more tactical in the sense of at the early stage, as far as your question of like acquiring talent, to Pat's point, you got to figure out what makes it unique to work for you versus your competitors. And most of the time that's your culture. And most of the time that is, looking at it from a standpoint of you're creating stability for them. I think one of the mistakes we make in this industry is we try to incentivize everything and bonus everything with our team members. And in reality, they're coming to you for stability. If they wanted all this risk and all these different comp structures and all these different ways to grow, they would just go grow their own business. My best employees were the ones that didn't want to have to worry about work after they left. They just showed up, did a phenomenal job, and left. And that's what they wanted. They didn't want the risk of an entrepreneur. So as far as acquiring talent, create a sales page, just like you would create a sales page for your program. Create a sales page that hits on just like a good sales page does on client acquisition. A good sales page for talent acquisition is all about why I should work for you. What's the culture like? What are the benefits? And when I say benefits, of course, the financial box has to be checked by all means, but there are many benefits. I think many of us can chase the kind of small business / startup culture that does not exist in kind of the corporate world, right? When I say corporate in our space, that would be like working for a big box health club. It creates a lot of stability, but it also has a lot of boxes that you have to fit into. And so if you can kind of, create a culture where there's stability and you're a part of a team, you're going to help us build this thing, like Pat said, there's very big. I'm a very big fan of like communicating your vision and where the business is today, where you want to take it, and how people can be a part of it. I feel like a lot of today's talent, they want to be a part of building something. And, I think it's a self-limiting belief that everybody wants to build their own thing. We just think that because we're entrepreneurs, but like we are the weird people. Most people don't want to build their own stuff. They're too afraid to. They don't want to take that risk. And so go build a sales page, go sell them on why it's good to work for you. And then the last thing I would say is similar to your clients, onboarding is like step one. We're not done once we onboard them. Weekly meetings, lots of role playing, lots of training, lots of communication, lots of coffee dates, whether it's virtual or not. Having a good weekly cadence with every team member to make sure that you're on the same page, they're on the same page, and things are peachy. That way things don't build up and all of a sudden you get an email that they want to leave.
Awesome. Thank you guys. It's great.
All right. Anything else for today's call?
I got a quick one.
Yeah, shoot.
So I'm primarily online with training and nutrition clients, higher ticket. My roster for the last 3 years has been anywhere from 25 to 35 clients. Half my roster right now has been with me for over a year. So client retention is pretty dang good. Referrals have dropped off. I've not done any marketing aside from social media, not paid for anything. It's all been referrals or just social media. So clients really like working with me and I like working with them. But with referrals dropping off and excitement going down, just not as many people sharing with friends, curious a couple tips on how to ramp that up a little bit. Because people are obviously enjoying what they do and without question re-signing, but looking to see maybe it's something that I could do better to get them excited about sharing.
Do you share their wins and celebrate them?
I do. I know Drew follows me on some stuff. I could probably share even more. So I do share that on social media. Social media does not get a whole lot of attention though.
But if you share their successes and tag them, then a lot of times the people in their lives will take notice, because if they have been with you for a year, this is not new and novel anymore, right? Like this is just kind of part of who they are. And so sharing the new and novel thing is always more common than sharing the thing that's been part of your life for a year, 2 years, or 3 years. So if you can prompt it that way, and then I would tell you, create events for people to share, charity-based events, that sort of thing, where you can incentivize them to share with other people. But beyond that, I would tell you, you probably need to, I mean, if you're that good, you need to do other stuff. Like you need to do paid ads. If you're that good and you retain people that much, you are like the prime candidate to run paid ads, because the average online trainer does not retain people that long. So you can actually invest a little bit knowing that you're going to retain people at a much higher rate. So that's probably the question you didn't ask, but it's probably the more important question to answer.
Okay, and that's kind of the next step that I was leaning towards. So that clarifies that and reinforces that. So I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for being here, and thank you all for the insights. I got like 2 pages of notes that we can't see because my virtual background. So I'll take the lead, put together this recording and all the awesome insights we got and get it out to everyone.
Awesome. Well,
anything else before we part?
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks everyone. We'll talk to you soon, okay?